guys, it's Joey again, once again with Yaron, and here we are at another great episode of Comics Vault. I know I'm kind of popping my own collar when I say it's a great episode, but trust me, it's going to be a good one. Today, we're going to talk about The Walking Dead. We're going to talk about Negan, but here's the thing. Yaron has some very, very special news, and it's about our new website called Heroes Vault, and it's going to be so exciting. I'm so excited to actually have that come into fruition. I've been holding it as a secret for a very long time now, right? So Yaron, tell us just a little bit about that.
Again, yeah. So I'm gonna flash that logo one more time just because I love the new logo that we got.
I know. It's even better than my logo. Come on, what happened there?
I know. Yeah, the Heroes Vault. It's our new website. I've been mentioning this for a while now. But guys, we are officially live as of today, and we're actually going to be doing some really cool things here on Heroes Manufactured Live and on Comics Vault on every single one of our shows. We are going to be doing kind of like a home shopping network. We're not going with that name because it's definitely not as cool as that. It's cooler. So I mean,
we're not going to be selling Tupperware, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're not selling Tupperware, and we're not selling Rubbermaid products. We're selling comics, toys, collectibles, all that jazz, and we're going to absolutely love everything about it because we're bringing it right to you guys. So one thing that I am going to mention, check us out. Our website's heroes-vault.com. You can actually shop on there already. It's live officially from today, so we're good to go. We also have heroesvault.shop. So there's two ways you can access that website. We also have a promo code that we're offering our customers here, and it's a $5 promo code for anyone from our Facebook group that's watching this right now, from our YouTube group as well. Our promo code is HeroesFB, so just that word, HeroesFB, all caps. So use that, you'll get $5 off your first purchase there. So yeah, once you get that $5, unfortunately, you won't get that again. But if off your first purchase, so if you do get a combined purchase together, you can definitely get that $5 off. Or if you just do one purchase, $5 off. So it's a nice little incentive for you guys. But we're going to have so many more incentives, so many more deals. We're going to have a members thing happening. So if you guys are interested, definitely check us out. There's going to be a lot there for everybody. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. And just remember, we're going to have stuff. We're going to have special offers, specific products, exclusive products on the show. We're going to be offering those things for our comic book lovers, for our gamers, for our toy. We're going to start a new show soon as well with Joey with regards to toys. So that's going to be another cool.
More secrets I have to keep, Yaron.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool things happening. So, and we also have a cosplay show. We're still in the kinks of working it all out. It's still taking us a bit longer than expected. There's so much happening, but we're definitely growing this with you guys and with our hosts. So, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So, yeah, Joey. I mean, let's kind of get right into it here. I guess we'll talk about what we came onto the show to talk about, which is The Walking Dead. Absolutely love that comic book series, that show, the corresponding shows. It's an amazing series that Image Comics put out there with Robert Kirkman, Tony Moore, who originally started with it. I mean, it's been a great series overall, and I'm a huge fan myself. So this is the first time I'm talking about Walking Dead on our show. So I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, you know what? This is actually the first ever zombie anything I've ever really gotten into. It's the first comic book that I've read in complete black and white. Really?
Oh wow!
Wait, no, I lie. I read Bone. However, that's a completely
different story. I got the first issue of Bone, by the way, recently. I have to say.
Sorry?
I got the first issue of Bone recently. I got a copy of that. So
did you get? Is it a slabbed version?
No, it's a 5th print, but it's still
still Bone though.
It's still Bone, and it's still worth it. So I mean, it's a great book. But I get it. You know what? Like for me, it wasn't Walking Dead. It was my first black and white. It was definitely the Turtles for me. Growing up.
Oh right.
This is up there. It's definitely. I mean, I love The Walking Dead. I love everything about it.
Yeah.
And this new series that we're going to talk about today is just amazing. So
yeah.
And I do have a few questions, kind of, just to kind of get going with it. But with regards to, I guess we're going to be talking today about if you want to kind of get into that a little bit about
Hmm.
which specific series we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is that there's very many characters in The Walking Dead that stands out to so many people because I think regardless of the fact that we're not exactly in the same situation as them, um, we are. There's a
Close.
lot of characters that we can react to and that we can relate, especially now.
Oh yeah, especially
You
now
know?
with the pandemic around the world. I mean, it's and you know what? It's fun. It's crazy because I've been watching the show since it first came out. I have
Yeah,
not missed an episode. It's the one TV show. I mean, I love great Game of Thrones. I love all these other great shows out there. But as a TV series, I mean, I've read the entire comic book series. Great
yeah.
series, very different from the TV show, and I love them both in very different ways. It's
Same
like
here. Yeah.
I mean, they're you enjoy the characters in very different ways. I may have missed a few issues actually, so I may have lied a little there, but of the comics. But
Mhm.
overall, I mean, I can say that there are similarities as well, but it's not canon in any way, shape, or form. But I definitely
Yeah,
feel like there's
no.
a certain sense of it is there in both, right? So
Yeah. So today's episode though is going to be a lot of Negan. It's going to be a Negan centric episode because there's important things that have happened with Negan, especially lately during this pandemic, and that is a book that came out called Negan Lives, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Negan in terms of how he was in the comic books as well as how he was in the TV show, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to just get into it as well. There's a little bit of news with The Walking Dead as well. That being said, that
yeah,
it is ending. So
yeah,
season 11 is going to be the last season
yeah,
of The Walking Dead.
I heard that The Walking Dead is ending as a
Mhm.
show. Do you feel like it's a good time to end the series? I mean, in terms
Mhm.
of like what they've accomplished as a show overall. I mean, it's they've written their own their own version essentially, uh,
Mhm.
which
They
is
did.
very unique and very like I still found like I said it's very different from the comics. Certain characters being killed off in the comics versus the
Mhm.
show very differently.
Yeah.
You know,
Honestly, I think this is a great time because I hate it when shows over exhaust themselves. You know, if there's a way to end with a bow,
yeah,
end it with a great bow. Don't end it with a bow that's kind of like we should have done this 2 seasons ago. It's done. The comic book is done. It's concluded. And I think that if we stretch the storylines a little bit more,
yeah,
maybe the story is not going to be as great as it was. You know, there's already some parts of The Walking Dead in the mushy middle section to it that was kind of like this could be kind of overreaching because it started
yeah,
to get really really slow, and it
for
kind of
sure.
deters people to watch and invest anymore if it gets too slow, you know. So yeah.
My big question mark at the end of the day, and I mean, I may be reading this to anyone who's reading this out there. So, spoiler alert on the comics specifically, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering if they're going to kill off Andrew Lincoln's character just like they're doing it in the comics, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's been such a big part of this, and
The
for anyone
biggest part probably.
yeah, and for anyone who's watched or hasn't watched the last episode of the last season, I mean that's been so it's not really a spoiler at this point, but
No, it
uh,
was a while ago. Yeah.
he still survives, right? So I mean, it's interesting to see what's going to happen with his character because there's
Mhm.
talks about a movie being put out there
Yeah.
with him coming back, probably Negan as well. Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I mean, that's going to be a nice collaboration if that's what we're going to see.
Yeah.
Um, and I assume
Listen,
they're
with
going to be more.
me, I
Sorry.
know that you're saying like, is he gonna die at the very last season? This is the thing that I remember it was in the first times we see Negan in the comic where he was like, I don't know if I want to kill you, cause then I'm gonna make you a martyr, and
Yeah,
that's
he's actually
exactly
kind of
what's gonna
smart, right?
happen. Yeah, it's like if he killed him right then and there, the storylines are going to be completely all whacked. I mean, I know you read the comics and you also watched the show, but nothing actually happens in the sequence that it happens
Oh no,
in the
of course. And you know
comics,
what?
right?
I think because of that, I enjoy this show a little more.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, the comics are great. There's no doubt about it. I know this is a show about comics, but in this specific case, I'm a very cinematic guy. I'm usually not a fan of zombie films. Typically, I don't never
Yes.
really love them. But what I loved about Walking Dead, it wasn't a show, or if you look at it as cinematic media,
Hmm.
it wasn't about zombies. It's always been about survival, which is what they got from the comics. But I felt like the show managed to pull it into a different direction that made it kind of like, a survivalist type of show. Which, I mean, I think what I really like to say is, actually, I feel like TV was the best medium as well for this, and
Hmm. And
because of because
it
of the
was the best network for it too.
oh yeah, AMC
Yeah.
did an amazing job, and
Mhm.
absolutely, and even their Fear of the Walking Dead shows, those have been absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm wondering where those are going. Like they haven't really ended that as well, right? Like is
Yeah. Well, there's going to be spin-offs, and we'll talk about that a
yeah,
little later in the show. But I kind of feel like now it being a good time to, end the show. Um, there's gonna be big moments that are gonna happen that we gotta look forward to, and those things are gonna happen on 2021. So it's gonna be a 24 episodes. It's gonna be a long season if that's the case.
yeah,
24 episodes. Half of it will play in 2021, and
yeah,
the second half, the second 12, is going to be on 2020.
yeah.
Again, we were talking about spin-offs and beloved characters, characters that have been with us since season one. They're going to have their own spin-off show, and those
Yeah,
are for
heard
you,
about that as
Daryl.
well.
Yeah, Daryl and Carol fans. You guys are going to really, really love this news. But
Yeah,
that's what's in the works. Is there's going to be a Daryl and Carol 20.
Carol and Carol.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Golden Girls actually, but Daryl and Carol. No, it won't be. It's gonna come out on 2023. There's also gonna be another thing that's really really cool, which I didn't even think that this was going to be a thing, but Tales of the Walking Dead is going to happen, and that's going to be headed by Scott Gimple as well, which is
Wow.
great because he's been with us for a very very long time, even though we've had so many like showrunners, maybe like 4 or 5 for The Walking Dead,
Yeah,
and this is going to be really great because I'm a fan of like crossovers and one shots in
yeah,
comics.
yeah.
This is exactly going to be that kind of show. It's going to be one shot stories of
Oh, for
future
sure,
characters and maybe even characters that we know and love already. So
for
stay
sure.
tuned. That's going to come out.
So I have a couple of questions here also with regards to like the new Negan book series that we just showed. I mean, also like just with regards to Negan as well, but
Mhm.
season 6, episode 16. That
Mhm.
kind of changed for The Walking Dead as a show. This was Negan's first appearance.
Mhm.
So tell me, I mean, about that episode, just for you. I mean, in terms of like what you felt. I mean, as someone who's like into the show, and just how they brought him into all this. I mean,
Yeah.
how did you take that when you first watched that?
It was an emotional turmoil, basically.
Yeah,
Just like
that
the
was
rest
that,
of
that
us.
was this episode here, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
it was insane because there were so many things that were happening. Like Maggie was sick. How many times did Glenn die? There was so many
oh yeah,
situations going on. And at this point, if you were a comic book reader, you were also probably in turmoil in a sense where like someone's about to die and you don't know if it's going to be based on the comics or based on the TV show. So you were in turmoil. It was a haunting episode. I think this was probably the first time we heard the whistle, like the Negan
yeah,
survivor whistling situation, and it's haunting, man. And you this is the first time you saw how big the saviors were. It was not a team of like 5 scavengers or even 20 scavengers. This guy is so charismatic that he was
yeah,
able to like get that much people in his just wrapped around in his fingers. So and that was also the first time that I thought, oh my god, like Rick is weak. Like there's
yeah. Rick
weakness in
was
him.
down on his knees. They literally
Absolutely.
and it wasn't just like it wasn't just literal. It was symbolic. It was literal. It was in
Yeah.
every sense. He was the one time you felt that the character was really just well, what's the
He
word
was
I'm trying?
human. He was
Yeah,
human.
he
Like
was.
at
He
this
was,
point he
he was
was
vulnerable. That's what I was
yeah,
gonna say.
he was
Extremely
uh,
vulnerable at that
the
point.
acting, like Andrew Lincoln's acting was absolutely phenomenal,
Yeah.
and it was one of those things where you just didn't think he could give any more to the character, right? And
Oh, for sure,
then
for
you
sure.
just see him on his knees as a leader, and
And
you're trying
yeah,
not to break his son, and it was mad.
Yeah, yeah, Rick and Carl. I mean, it was just amazing. Like every moment of that episode was incredible. And I mean, in comparison, also to like issue 100, which was the
Mhm.
comic book version of that scene. How is it comparable to you, like with regards to that show? Because I mean, here's an image, for example, and I
Yeah.
mean that's the famous image we all know where he literally cracks his eye out. Like that's we're not going to show the visual there, but
No, we won't.
uh,
You know what? I was actually thinking today, maybe I'll go and rewatch the episode. Maybe I'll
you
rewatch
want
the
to see that
episode.
eye cracking, right? Like,
Yeah, he just the no merciness of it, like,
yeah, yeah,
and this was the time where it was like, when you were there, you were kind of like, I don't know if they're going to happen comic wise, if it was going to be comic based, or they're going to do something new, right? Because at this point, Maggie was already pregnant, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, are they really going to make her do this alone? And they did, like when Glenn was just beaten to the pulp, both in the comics as
Oh
well
yeah.
as in the TV show. It was exactly how I had imagined it to be, but I
Yeah,
didn't want
I think
didn't
they hit
want
it on the spot. They was probably the one of the most accurate for TV. I mean, at least
yeah,
in movies, there's a whole other discussion, but for TV, definitely probably the most comic book accurate episode or
panel
scene.
by panel. I swear to God, panel by panel, it was pretty
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Even the dialogue.
Even the
was-
dialogue. No, you're right, 100%. I mean, I think the only thing they said about the dialogue is they want to cut down on the like they couldn't go on the F words and all that because it was AMC, right? Because he
Yeah,
swears a lot. But the one thing they got, I mean, putting Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. I mean, that was just an incredible choice on the
mhm,
casting end of things. I mean, he played the comedian in Watchmen. He did so many
yeah.
great he was the leader in Losers. I mean, if you
After
remember
this, he
that movie.
played Tom Wayne, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. He's a phenomenal actor. They're all just a great cast. I remember I got to meet a lot of them, like Norman Reedus,
Hmm.
Fan Expo a few years ago. Great, great crew. I mean, he was there with little Carl Jr. back then.
Oh my God, he was tiny. Yeah,
He was tiny. I mean, he wasn't. He was probably a little younger than where we're watching right now, but he was awesome. And
yeah.
the one thing, like, kind of going back, I mean, to this episode, this Negan episode. I mean, in the books, again, this was like issue 100. This was a huge deal for everyone. I believe it was back in October 2017, right when it first came out into the books.
So Here's Negan was actually a one-shot story.
Oh, okay.
This one was a tiny trade paperback, and it was also a hardcover. I picked this up a while back, and it was an origin story for Negan.
Oh, wow.
Particularly though, the issue 100 that you were talking about was
Yeah,
basically the same scene as the season 6 episode of his first appearance.
yeah.
So just getting back to that, it just showed Negan's power and his charisma. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan was honestly, you know what? Actually, I found out today that it was supposed to be another actor, right?
Wow.
And
I'm wondering who that. Like, do you know who? Do you remember who it was
yeah,
specifically?
he's the oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy right now, but he would look like an Negan anyway. But
Okay, that's all good.
the thing was, I couldn't imagine Negan being anybody else after I saw this episode. But
Yeah.
the thing is, and I don't know if you caught yourself doing this, but when I was reading the comic before I watched the TV show, he sounded different to me. Like I thought he was gonna sound like really harsh, raspy, just really deep voice and really
Yeah, I mean, maybe a bit more of a southern, also kind of like
hmm
you can expect anything, especially because of how we were watching the show in the beginning, right?
yeah,
While the comics were out. So I mean, to me, I always felt like Negan might have a little bit more of a southern kind of voice, but I mean,
Southern drawl. Yeah.
yeah, but once we got to see him in The Walking Dead on the show, Jeffrey Dean Morgan really pulled it off, no doubt about it. I mean, he did a phenomenal job.
And he
The
did it
one thing,
the way, yeah, he did it the way that he wanted to do it. And I thought it was actually scarier that he was so like nonchalant about his language.
well,
And
and the thing is, like, even if you look at like the whole series right now, right up till issue 193, which was the last comic book issue they had,
mhm,
um, the storyline for Negan. I mean, he's in many ways he's more he's an antagonist, but in a very unique kind of way
Yeah,
where he almost turns into a protagonist by the end of it, which is like
yeah,
you never really see that in a story, right? Like I can't really name uh, films or shows or comic book series that can change the way
mhm,
you look at a character from like one scene till the end, right?
yeah,
And there are some movies and shows that do it, and comics that do it as well, but they almost make him the hero in many ways at the end. He's the anti-hero in a very unique
right.
light. So I mean,
That was something that when I wanted to word it, I didn't know how to word it because it was almost kind of like, to me, was he like an anti-villain? Because,
yeah, to me,
you know,
I still see him as an anti-hero. I mean, I because he's grown, and I mean, I think there's as much as he's an evil prick. There's
there was a reformation there.
yeah, and he he's definitely he redeems himself. I mean, they show him doing the worst, which is
Hmm.
awesome, but
Yeah,
he definitely redeems himself. And I think the fact that they built up Glenn's like character up until season 6, it was amazing because they you actually felt a lot for that character and for the people that love that character.
and
For
you didn't
Maggie,
want to. Honestly, I didn't want to feel bad for him, but I did. Like I was kind of like, he
yeah,
went.
it made it more emotional for everyone at the end of the day, and I think that's where that was their hook, right? Is that they made you love and care about these characters,
Mhm.
show them in a different light with a family, with with or at least starting a family, and it was just by the time it happened, you were just like, this is absolutely horrifying. So
Yeah,
they built that well. I felt the story was amazing. There were some scenes in the show that overall, when I look back, I'm just like, I mean, till today, I was some of the darkest things I've seen in
mhm.
television and cinema. I mean, I remember there's one episode. Sorry to go off topic here, but it
Oh,
was
that's fine.
two girls. I think it was season 5, where there were sisters kind of fighting each other, and towards the end, one kills the other, and it was just
Yeah.
that was the darkest episode by far. I mean, to me, like it was absolutely insane.
It was
And
honestly right up there with, I mean, beating Glenn to a pulp. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, and it's like the fact that they went that dark.
mhm.
I mean, it's crazy. It was
Yeah,
absolutely crazy, and yet still showing the humanity in it all. So I mean, that was it was absolutely the best television I've watched in a long
yeah.
time, and that's why I still watch the show till today. And I watch the Fear of the Walking Dead. I'm a big fan of the whole Walking Dead series. Got to meet Robert Kirkman actually last year.
Oh, nice.
Diego Comic Con. Got us signed 192, the second last issue,
Mhm.
where Rick gets killed. But I mean, it was an incredible run as a book,
Mhm.
and as a show. I think it's going to be an incredible run by the end of it too. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
to me, it's up there with Game of Thrones already
Mhm.
as a series, and even though it's not finished yet, hopefully we'll see some great stuff there. Another question that I have for you, speaking of like the comic books, um, there was a book that you said came out, which was the 2017 Here's Negan. So if you can tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about that book specifically, because I know that was a highlight that happened in 2017. I for some reason I thought it was book 100, but I mean, was it? You said it was a spin-off book.
Yeah, it was literally a one shot. And this is something that if you're a Negan fan, you have to pick this up because you find out exactly what happened with him and what happened to basically his life before. We find out here that he was actually a husband to someone, which is kind of hard to believe sometimes if you've already seen like all the older episodes. You find out that he was a coach to children, so they kind of look like they were about in their tweens or maybe they were in high school, and this whole thing opens up with him playing badminton and cussing one of the kids off. And I mean, in true Negan style, nobody else can cuss off a kid like Negan. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what happened with that. The whole thing also starts off with his wife Lucille, and we
Oh,
do
wow.
find out that the bat, it has a more symbolic meaning than we ever thought it would.
Hmm.
it's actually his wife. His wife's name is Lucille, and we find out that she was actually diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
So the whole story with this is that his wife uh, is in this journey of complete, like, I you know she's sick, and her and Negan, they banter back. Like, I mean, she cusses just as much as Negan, you know what I mean? So the relationship between these two is very important to know. Once you get into the Walking Dead series, you also find out that this is what was happening with Negan when the virus was just starting.
Wow.
So it's very important to kind of know, like, where he meets the saviors, and this is exactly where he meets the saviors, how he wields Lucille, how he made Lucille, and why he made Lucille the bat, not the wife, obviously.
Yeah.
He was there was a point too where you knew the kind of guy that he was, because this is his realization that I really screwed up. I wanted my wife, and
Yeah.
I only knew that I wanted her when she was gone. And that's the kind of thing where you're like, you love to hate the guy, because you
Yeah.
really don't want to like. I mean, he killed Glenn. I mean, why would you like this dude? You know what I
No, for
mean?
sure, for sure. And I mean, the thing is, like, with regards to like his relationships, he had a number of relationships in the series, in the books, but also
Mm.
in the TV series. One specifically with Carl Grimes. Like, why do
Yeah.
you think he was so close to Rick's kid? I mean, what made you kind of like think, what the connection there between them? Because I
Yeah.
mean, they kind of showed it well in the show. No, in the books, but in the show as well. I mean, there was always that connection, right? So
Yeah. I think, to me, honestly, it made sense because, one, after finding out in the 2017 trade paperback
yeah,
that they didn't have a kid, and maybe that was something that maybe Negan always wanted and just never had. And I think that that first roundup where he kills Glenn and he plays like eeny miny mo with the whole crew, he looked at him and he called him a future serial killer. I mean, what a messed up thing to say to a kid with one eye, but I think that there was a lot of things that he wanted to mentally mess up with Rick Grimes. And I think that the way to get to Rick Grimes is obviously to Carl. Carl is, I think, to me, if he didn't die in the Walking Dead TV show, he should be the next leader. His
yeah,
dad taught him well, and I think that he showed a lot of gumption eventually when he was older, and I think Negan just knew how to tap into that. But I thought that was a very special relationship, because what an odd relationship that was, right? He
oh no, it was definitely odd, but there was some kind of odd morality behind it all. Like, it was made you I made you see the I guess the humanity in Negan at that point, that he's not just
an
a
asshole.
mere a-hole. So yeah, we won't really swear here, but yeah, I mean, literally that's what he was, right?
Yeah,
Um,
no, and I think too that this is Negan's relationship with Carl is the thing that made Carl realize the things outside that he just didn't know about. You got to
yeah,
think about it. This is a post-apocalyptic kind of world, and the only thing that Carl Grimes knew was what his surrounding people taught him. There was
yeah,
no social media. There was no way he was meeting other kids. There was no way he was meeting antagonists that
yeah.
was like Negan. And I think that was his first reiteration of, like, oh my god, there's other personalities I have to deal with.
Yeah, he also always seemed like a kid who knew how to hold this, hold everything together.
Hmm.
So I mean, I think that's why they had to introduce him into his life as well. I mean, he's kind of a vital point to the entire series and story. I mean,
Hmm.
he's uh, he's really like the second act of a third act. Of a three-act series. He's that point of no return, and I feel like Negan's character definitely that was developed that way, and that brings me into like this next thing. Going back to kind of like this new series, Negan Lives. Tell us a little bit, I mean, about this series, because this is the new thing. If you guys were around during the pandemic, July 2020, this thing came out. It was some big news for everybody. I've actually looked it over pretty good. It's a nice little And the thing is, like, I can't tell. Is it a one-off? Is it going to be continued? What's happening here with this?
I think this is just a one shot, to be honest. It doesn't continue on with any of the numberings. This wasn't, honestly, I don't really think this was going to come out if the pandemic didn't happen, because this was actually a comic book that the creators of The Walking Dead, like Kirkman, decided that they wanted to help out local comic book stores and have the proceeds really go to them. So that's the reason why Negan Lives even exists.
Yeah, because I mean, like after reading it, I thought it should continue off as its own thing. I mean, they should have an ongoing series just on Negan. I mean, he came out of this, right? So I mean, to me, that's it's pretty cool. I mean,
Did, but you know what? He didn't want to.
no, he didn't want to. No, you're right.
This whole thing, this whole comic book was him and his existential crisis of,
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
like, why am I still here? Like, I don't want to be here anymore.
yeah, and I feel like there's more there though. There's a lot more there because of that, and I definitely like you can see that in plain sight with this book.
Hmm.
But I feel like there's definitely more now to that, and it's almost like we can maybe help him find purpose. I don't know, like maybe the writers can, or
Hmm.
there's it seems like the story for him personally isn't over yet, and I think people would want to check that out. I have a feeling there will be some kind of an ongoing series down the road. He made
Yeah.
such a big splash. I mean, they even had like multiple covers. They had like a gold, bronze edition that were
Oh
worth
my
like
God. Yeah, it's going
$200.
for crazy in eBay now.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't understand that at all because it's but like the second the series comes out and it's going to be an ongoing
Hmm.
because I'm sure Robert Kirkman's done with it personally, but all they need to do is just reposition that IP to another writer that wants to really take on the Negan character.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've got a great book, and I'm sure that he'd
Yeah.
want to make the money off of that. I mean, why not? It's a great series. It's got a huge fan base, and people just seem to want more and more and more. I mean, I think people want to also see eventually. They want to know how does Negan's demise come? Like how does it come to an end? Like for him, right? So, I
Hmm.
mean, will we ever know? Like will he win? And get that redemption that he wants, or who knows? We'll have to wait and see for that. But
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I mean, I could definitely see a mini series if that was the case of Negan Lives, because he does meet people at the very end. You can see that in this comic, he just, again, he doesn't understand why he's even still there, but he does eventually trust someone, and that someone that he trusted ends up not being so good, and he ends up meeting people that are just not to his taste, so there's definitely something else that had happened there, and we just don't know what happens to Negan after that.
yeah, and so like my last kind of question here to you is, I know that there's you mentioned earlier that we're going to see a new last season kind of in 2021 with a little bit in 2020 as well
Hmm.
for the Walking Dead, but with this whole movie thing that they said they're coming out, they might be going to theaters with this thing. I mean, that's like that's what they're talking about. I mean, especially now with the pandemic and everything that's happening, it's kind of crazy to think of if that's actually going to happen, or they're going to have it like as a live movie. What's your thoughts on this movie that's going to be coming out? I mean,
Well, to me, I hope that it's going to be an AMC movie. I really hope that it's not going to be one that's in the theaters. One,
yeah,
right now, I don't
I
even really
agree.
think, yeah, I don't think the theaters is something that people really want to invest in at this point. There's so many schedules that have been pushed back and delayed, and we're talking about shows that are on cable TV, and we're talking about special shows like The Walking Dead. There's so many pushbacks on so many different deadlines, and I think that a cinema experience is not going to be something worth investing right now. So I really do think that it should be an AMC movie, and it's, you know what, it stays true to the fans and to the network. I think AMC really did do something for this franchise, because they needed something that allowed them to show the characters in a very gritty, in a very dark, as you said, kind of light.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Well,
Hmm.
listen, I mean, this looks amazing. I'm excited also about. some of the new stuff that's coming out. I mean, especially some of these new series that they're talking about bringing out. I'd love to also see. I mean, especially in the Carol and Daryl show whenever that comes out. I'd love to see Mike Rooker come back, maybe through some
Oh my
flashbacks,
God, yes.
maybe some interesting flashbacks, because I think I mean, I would have even wanted to see like a prequel show, but I feel like they won't need to. I think they can do that in the Daryl and Carol show. They can definitely do some cool flashbacks between him and his brother.
Yeah,
How they how they were a little bit before the world became what it became. Because there's so much more to that story, right? Like we don't know everything still about Daryl.
yeah,
We don't know everything about Carol. Like I'd love to see her past, right? Like I want to see how her relationship was with her husband and how the family dynamic was, why she is the survivor that she is, right? Like there's
yeah,
all these unique
absolutely.
stories and
I mean,
um,
you know what? I'm a Carol fan because
oh yeah, she's
I
amazing.
have not seen a character evolve this much in any TV show, and I attest to that because she it almost kind of seemed like maybe she was a battered wife. She was very
She's a Wonder Woman though in many ways too.
table.
Like you know what I mean? Like I feel like she's her character at the end of the series. I mean, for what it is right now, because I've and it's funny because even their last episode of season, was it 7 now or sorry eight? No, it's like 9 now I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they 9 or I don't even remember that. That's how bad.
10.
10. So they didn't have an episode 16. They only ended it at 15, right? We're still waiting for that last episode
Yeah.
that didn't even come out yet. So, I mean, it's interesting to see where her character leads up to.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, just up until the end of the season.
Yeah.
10 seasons already. And I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, it's I just stopped counting. That's why there's so many.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and I don't expect anybody at all, even if you were a super fan of The Walking Dead, to be able to remember so many things about it because every season something crazy happens. Every season there's a character development that you didn't expect to happen, and here we are.
Yeah, and it still feels like the same world. It's a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, guys. Great comic book series, great everything series. So, I mean,
Yes.
I can't wait to see more of what they're doing. I know they're expanding the world. Loved what they did already with a lot of their shows, and I hope to see more. So, I mean, thanks for having me on your show, Joey, and
Of
just
course.
covering this. I think this was an awesome episode about Negan, about The Walking Dead,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully we'll do some more shows about The Walking Dead because there's a lot of really cool aspects of The Walking Dead that I think a lot of our fans would be interested in hearing, especially because we're fans of it, right? So,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
agree. So guys, stay tuned. The season is coming. Season 11 is going to be the very end, and it's going to be 24 episodes. Once again, it's going to be the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2020. So watch out for that. There's going to be all these spin-offs that are happening that we've always wanted to see. Again, that's the Daryl and Carol episodes, and the one-shot episodes that Scott Gimple is going to be working on. So I think it's going to be really, really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, if you want to check out more about Joey, you can follow her at the Captain Canary. Right, that's your Twitter handle.
No, that is my Instagram
Instagram.
handle, and my Twitter is Cap Canary.
Great.
So I kind of suck at Twitter. I will admit to that, but I am really, really good at Instagram because I'm a visual person. That's why I'm posting Comics Vault, I guess. But follow me on at the Captain Canary in Instagram and get to know a little bit more of my work and where I guest star.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thanks again for having me on the show. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and see you next time.
See you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.